I don't think anybody started out life at 5 years old and said, I want to grow up and eat out of trash cans on Skid Row. This is something that had to happen in their life to where they would accept that. And that's what I set out to try and find out. What was it that made them go there? Well, it's a variety of reasons. As you said, some were unlucky in love. But the one common thread I found running through most of them is that they have a real inability to deal with a lot, like severe emotional problems. Back in the late 1960s, mental health centers from around the United States did what they called deinstitutionalization. The federal government handed down an edict and it said, okay, we'll give these people psychotropic drugs and we'll put them out on the streets and they will, the community mental health centers will take care of them. So hundreds of thousands of people in the late 1960s were turned out into the streets with clutching prescriptions for maybe tranquilizers or some sort of mood moderating drugs. And they got a bus ticket to the nearest large city. A lot of bus stations are located in Skid Row areas. So they get off the bus, maybe they don't have anywhere to stay. They go to these Skid Row hotels, which really are worse than the streets, and they just kind of fall into it. And there they stay.
It's sad.
It's very sad.
How many shopping bag ladies do you think there are here in Los Angeles?
The estimates that I got place it at well over 1,000. Now you mentioned
1,000.
You mentioned New York, okay? More come to Los Angeles because of the weather. You can sleep on the streets in Los Angeles practically year-round. You don't have the cold, the snow, the rain, the elements. So although the Skid Row population has been numbered at about 10,000, there really are, they say about 10% of that are women.
That's astonishing.
But they hide. You'll hardly ever see them.
Yeah.
Because they are easy victims. So they hide in alleyways. A lot of them sleep in all-night movie theaters. They stay awake all night because that's when it's most dangerous for them.
Sure.
But
let's take a look right now at a clip that you brought and give everybody a chance to have a sneak preview of what you can see here at KHJ on Sunday night.
for a while, Thelma lived in the single-room hotels that are located in Skid Row. These hotels exploit the poor with high weekly rates and unsanitary conditions. Some are little more than a roof over the roaches. Many rooms have no locks. But since few people in the area can afford the first and last month's rent required by conventional housing, they stay trapped in the hotels, sharing toilets with 20 to 30 other people.
Well, ours was very dirty. I think if you go there now, you'll find the shower room was peeling off and it's black. What's caused it, I don't know.
But in spite of her life, Thelma's dreams continue. Dreams that would take her far away from her life on Skid Row. Thelma, what would make you happy in life?
Enough money to live on comfortably my way. I'd like to support the church, and I'd like to have a decent car and someone to drive it. Not regular chauffeur costs so much, but just someone. I like a little garden. I'd probably be quite contented.
Do you ever get lonely?
Not very often. I can go up to Wayne's, watch the other diners. Just walk along the street, something sure to happen.
The thread we found that links these street women together is their inability to deal with severe emotional problems. They are not the feisty, rebellious, independent, rich eccentrics that popular stories and myths would have us believe. What they truly are is another facet of extreme poverty and mental disability that is often overlooked by society and, in a sense, invisible. Some are now beginning to see these women and address their needs, and hopefully they'll be able to bridge the gap between the two worlds these women walk between. In Beverly Hills, I'm Ginger Casey, Channel 9 News.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it's Sunday night, 7 o'clock here at KHJ, and I think it's a wonderful special. I think it's very interesting because it's something that you think about a lot, but maybe only for a minute when you're driving by them, and then you forget about them. And I think it's important to bring them to the attention of the public.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Ginger Casey. Jeff has been listening to all this over there, and you're over there with our opinion poll results too, I guess, huh, KHOU?
Right you are, Meredith. That's fascinating stuff, Ginger. Congratulations. Good stuff. You big strong man, Uncle Sam, need your help again.
By the time they got to Woodstock, they were 500,000 strong, but little did they know that a poorly promoted three-day rock happening on an alfalfa field in Bethel, New York, would become a moment in history. A three-day scream that was heard around the world by a generation that rejected the values of its parents. Those over 30 sat up and were astounded as the children of the baby boom, spoon-fed on TV and the A-bomb, became the central focus of America, on the campus, in government, and in parks around the country. 14 years later, enter the US Festival in Southern California, promoted as the Woodstock of the 80s, designed by the founder of a computer firm. But this was no spontaneous gathering. It was a carefully cultivated and calculated multi-million-dollar capitalist venture designed to mix high technology with rock and roll music. It was for the children spawned of Woodstock in the peace movement of the 60s, who arrived not in tie-dyed jeans and microbuses, but in Calvins and Winnebagos. The US Festival concert site was built outside a small town resting along the mountains of San Bernardino. Tickets were nearly $40, and the site came complete with toilets, showers, medical facilities, and vendors, lots of them. Air-conditioned tents contain the latest in computer technology aimed at cashing in on the video mania that has swept through the Apple babies of the 80s. Although promoters prepared for crowds of 250,000, on the first day of the festival, cars were backed up on highways as hastily built campgrounds burst with humanity. And inside, progress from one side of the festival site to the other could take hours. Unlike Woodstock, there was no mud and rain to contend with, but blistering heat and smog, and the public showers became, for many, the only respite from the heat. The music was not anti-anything, really. For this generation, there is no Vietnam, no real fear of the draft. So the music was mostly a mixture of contemporary sounds, devoid of political overtones.
Perhaps that will be the legacy of the US Festival, that after the profits and statistics roll in, those who come would have felt as if they had truly been as one for a moment. And instead of asking, what's in it for me, they had held hands, embraced the technology of the future, and had asked, what's in it for us? Reporting from San Bernardino, I'm Ginger Casey, Channel 9 News.
Hey, Hank, did you ever think about the psychology of car colors?
What do you mean?
Well, it says here that a German professor studied 700 drivers and found that people who drive red cars tend to be decisive, blue car drivers are well-ordered and get fewer tickets, green car drivers are, like, in tune with nature, yellow car drivers want to change, white is chosen by fast drivers, gray is chosen by boring people. Ooh, Hank, you've got a gray car.
It's silver.
Gold and silver are chosen by people who love money, and brown is chosen by aggressive drivers.
Boy, there are a lot of aggressive drivers out here on the Houston streets. In fact, all that aggression can really cost us in our health, as Dr. Larry Brigera reports.
Used to wait ashore at all the arms control talks, and that perhaps put people off. But you somehow got that kind of an image.
Well, sure, but you see what you don't realize, and perhaps our viewers don't. Beneath this hard shell, prickly personality is a heart as big as all outdoors. Yeah.
That's what James Watt said.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so many people see you as being larger than life, you know, but I'm sure you too have your fears. What is it that you're afraid of?
Oh, lots of things. Well, let's see, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of cruel people.
Your role in the Carter presidency. There was, of course, the scandal involving you and Hamilton about the cocaine, and then there were the other things about Jordan, perhaps. Is it Jordan or Jordan? I never seen
Jordan.
Okay. About, you know, the spitting on the woman and all of these kind of irascible behavior type incidents. But you both showed up on the cover of the Rolling Stone, which is kind of a publication known for its appeal to the so-called high society.
Well, it also happens to be, it was then, and I think is returning now, has some of the best political commentary there, too.
Yes.
I must say that posing for that picture on the cover of Rolling Stone probably was a mistake, but that in no way excuses journalists from making their own mistakes.
You didn't feel that your behavior in any way influenced perhaps the way you were looked at the time? I mean, was that what you would consider to be a good image for two of the president's closest advisors to have?
I don't think there's any doubt that posing for that picture was probably a mistake.
There was a time when you were almost a symbol instead of a person. You were representative of the angry black of the 60s and the revolutionary and the militant. Do you at any time feel that those groups attempted to use you?
We felt that we were there to be used and to be used up. And I guess we draw the line over being misused.
Family emergency. I've been called to do double duty today. And look who I get to meet today, Richard
But just
Simmons.
think you're going to make an extra grand, just in a few moments, an extra $1,000.
That's something to discuss
and somebody
with the
could be looking
management
at
here.
you and then all of a sudden pick you for a new show, or there could be a wealthy millionaire watching and see those breathtaking eyes and just take you away from this and build you a chateau in Switzerland. Hi.
And for our next segment, thanks for being on the show. We're also going to find out how to eat healthy today. Richard Simmons has got a new video out on exercising and eating healthy. I've seen you on some other shows this morning. But we're also going to find out how to cook healthy. We'll have some folks on from the land.
Well, won't this be fun?
Yes, I'm
And we
thrilled
hope that
to be
everything's
here.
okay with Warner. We'll say a little prayer.
And we'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Warner's Show. I'm so thrilled to finally meet Richard Simmons. You know, I've been a fan of yours for years.
But we've met each other.
We worked at
know.
the same television station for a time. Your shows were produced out of KTLA.
And then all of a sudden, this station offered you millions of dollars to come to Houston, and you left L.A.
Something like that. You know, I've always admired you because you really stand up there and say, look, I was really fat, and I've seen the photos of you. You were really a mess there for a while.
Well, I was 268 pounds, and unfortunately, America judges people by what it says on the scale. And after I lost my weight, I lost it quickly. I starved. I lost 123 pounds in 2.5 months and almost died. I promised God that if I was to live and get healthy again and get out of that hospital bed, that I would devote the rest of my life to taking care of the overweight and out of shape. And that's what I've done for 12 years.
And you've given them back some dignity, too. I mean, you have been, comedians have a field day with you, imitating you. People make fun of your style, but yet you really give these people back some dignity. You kid them.
I think anybody who's on television is subject of all that. But when I go to Vegas and Don Rickles does me and Dean Martin does me and Wayne Newton does me.
Don't you love it?
I adore it. I mean, they now ask me, they bring me on stage. And matter of fact, in April, I open for Mac Davis at the MGM Grand. So I'm going to play Vegas.
I think I saw a comedian once do Little Richard Simmons.
That was Eddie Murphy.
Was that Eddie Murphy?
And he called me after he did it and said, did you like it? Did you think it was funny? And I thought it was funny. I mean, if I had short hair and a small mustache and was a macho guy, how could I get a 200-pound woman to really do it? I mean, I've been there. I know what it's like to be overweight. I know what it's like to love food. Just because I'm thin now doesn't mean that I don't love food. I'm still a compulsive eater. I still would sell my mother for a hot loaf of bread and butter. But what
put her on an exercise bike. Like
That's right, on the Citibank commercial. But I've devoted the last 12 years to saying, hey, I don't care how much you weigh. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you do for a living. Please exercise. Please eat right. And now my biggest product is I'm going to Washington to work on better eating habits and exercise programs for children.
You've really expanded your original scope of just doing exercises, and I think you've been very effective in proving that you're more than just some overnight sensation we read about in People magazine once and then never hear about again.